Brilliant. And are we live? Are we live? All right. Let's give it a second. Let's give it a moment. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Hello, 313. Willie Will. Welcome, guys. Come on in. Come on in. I'm just sipping on my hot cocoa on this Monday afternoon. It's a bit cool over here in these parts on the East Coast of the United States of America. Let me know where you all are at and what the weather is like there. Delicious hot cocoa. Anyone want to taste? It's more like a drinking chocolate. Come on in, come on in. I just got it. Okay. Before I get into today's next chapter about why you shouldn't count calories because it's foo la la, I just want to say this. I just had a taste of the sage that I added to my hot cocoa. I've been known to have, in my mind, these moments of culinary creativity and ingenuity. And I said to myself, I've got this delicious fine quality chocolate. Shout out to Hugh, as in human, as in the restaurant on Fifth Avenue, New York, because I used their chocolate to melt down into this drinking chocolate. And then a lovely friend of mine, shout out to Dahab, who owns a wonderful Eritrean cafe. She sent me home with some delicious sage from her garden last week. And I had it in my mind because I was looking at the sage. Why not try adding the sage to the hot cocoa? And I just had a sip of that hot cocoa with a piece of that sage, and it is delicious. Granted, I know we're in the spring. Most of you are like, isn't it rosé season? Well, maybe it is for you, but for the AlkaliYogi, I can almost always have a hot cocoa. It's one of the ways that I self-soothe and cope and calm myself down when not practicing, breath work or yoga, etc. So that's where I'm at today. Weather sucks in Oklahoma. Shout out to you, Butch Robinson. Get yourself a hot cocoa, yeah? This is delicious, I'm telling you. I don't think there's much that hot cocoa doesn't improve for me in terms of my mood. I really, really recommend it. All right. So you all have tuned in for a reason, yeah? And that is because you want us to get back into how to eat, move, and be healthy. And so we're going to, because we are already on lucky chapter number 13. Don't worry if you don't have this book in your resource library yet. Hopefully you'll get it at some point. In the interim, just go back and refer to all the other chapters that I've already read for you all and take heed and take advantage of all the additional advice that I have provided for you. Because I'm not simply just reading Paul Chek's book to you all. I am a licensed holistic practitioner with the Chek Institute. So I actually have additional tools to give you all so that you can empower yourselves to take back your health, or better still, to maintain your health. Because at the end of the day, we all know that preventative is always better than curative. Nevertheless, the body is designed to heal itself. Hippocrates did state himself that food is thy medicine. So we need to remind ourselves that we must treat food as such, as medicine, not as a hobby, not as a defense mechanism. Point in case, but hey, we are still just human. So we do the best that we can day in and day out. Pause for another delicious sip of my drinking hot cocoa, which is, of course, vegan and paleo, with a touch of fresh sage. What a brilliant idea. All right. So where we left off last week, is I was talking to you all about the X factor. And the X factor is a variable that can either increase or decrease your daily energy expenditure, i.e. how many calories that you actually burn, based on several genetic, hormonal, and environmental factors. Fidgeting would fall into this X factor category. We are on page 210 for those of you that are just joining now. Again, chapter 13, which is titled, and I know that this one is a loaded one for especially people living in America, Never Cut Calories. And this is coming from holistic coaches. We are telling you, don't cut calories. Listen, if counting calories was the answer, then America wouldn't be the most obese nation on the planet. So obviously, this myth that we have been running with for 30, 40 years is clearly not doing the trick. So if counting calories is not working, then we have to step back and look at the actual picture, accept the picture, which is people are obese in this country and sick. We need to obviously do something differently. Let's do something differently. So don't worry about the calories. Today, magazines, sports stores, and specialty shops offer a wide variety of calorie counting gadgets. You can strap onto your wrist or an ankle, go for a walk, and even take a bike ride or pound the Stairmaster for 30 minutes and decide how big a piece of pie you deserve for dessert. While there's some serious flaws in this approach. Now, I did read this part last week, yeah, but I'm going to reread it to you all because I do think it's important. When trying to determine how many calories to consume each day, many fail to calculate how many calories it takes to meet the demands of just being alive. Just being alive requires energy, right? A whopping 50 to 70% of all calories that you consume are used to generate the heat and life energy to keep your cells turned on. Not cleaning the house or shooting a few hoops, but literally just to keep you alive. And this is your resting metabolic rate for all intents and purposes, also known as your RMR. Now, another 5 to 15% of your caloric intake is needed for digestion and elimination. That's a big one. You also need to consider your daily activities and how much your individual body functions require. This again is referred to as the X factor, which I defined for you a couple of minutes ago. But now that we're in that place in the paragraph where it comes up again, I want to redefine it for you. So again, X factor is a variable that can either increase or decrease daily energy expenditure, i.e., how many calories you burn, based on several genetic, hormonal, and environmental factors. Fidgeting would fall into this X factor category. We don't all lead the same lives, nor do we interpret stressors or environment in the same way. If you eat according to your primal pattern type or your metabolic type, and if you don't know what that is, you could reach out to me and I can do that for you. If you eat according to your primal pattern type or your metabolic type, you'll convert food into energy more efficiently. This means you'll expend or dissipate more of the energy you take on board, leaving less to store as fat. If you follow fad diets or eat incorrectly for your primal pattern diet type, then your blood sugar balance is going to be disrupted and energy production will become inefficient, and your cells must now slow down because your meal is either causing stress on the body instead of aiding it in smooth operations. Um, and that leaves us with a conundrum, right? If you're not eating correctly for your primal pattern type, then you are creating fluctuations in your blood sugar level. And what I'm learning, even as I continue to study with the Czech Institute, is that the regulation of blood sugar is key for everything that is health, whether it be mental health, spiritual health, emotional health, and definitively physical health. Literally, that blood sugar regulation is key, and it's also key for your gut health. So I do want to reread that last sentence or two for you. If you follow fad diets or eat incorrectly for your primal pattern diet type, then your blood sugar balance is disrupted, energy production is inefficient, and your cells must now slow down because your meal is causing stress on your body instead of aiding in smooth operations. There will be more waste material left behind from eating incorrectly, which is often toxic to the body and may get stored up in the fat cells to protect the liver whilst it catches up. So you see, the body is constantly working on your behalf to fight on your behalf to keep you alive. It's also the universe that's helping to conspire for all of these things. All it's asking in return is that you give it the fuel that it needs. So it is important to get your metabolic type or your primal pattern. And again, if you don't know what that is, please reach out to a Czech practitioner. It doesn't have to be me. If you have one in the local area, even better, then you guys can meet up face to face. Find out what your primal pattern is. Are you a polar type? Meaning, should you be eating primarily protein? Or are you an equatorial type? Should you be eating primarily carbohydrates? When I say carbohydrates, please take note, I am referring strictly to fruits and vegetables, not to croissants, not to French bread, baguettes, and all the like, not to rice and pasta. I wish I could, but that's not actually a part of the food pyramid as would be described by any Czech practitioner, really and truly. So each of us responds to stressors differently. The X factor for determining caloric expense includes such stressors as job and relationship challenges, and even responding to weather changes. We also display various levels of spontaneous activity, such as fidgeting. As depicted in Figure 2, there are a number of factors that must be considered just to be met. Just to meet the requirements of running your body and keeping it healthy. Be aware that anytime you try to run your body without adequate fuel and the right mix of fuel, or on poor quality fuel, you are drastically increasing your chances of slowing your metabolism and becoming overweight. I'm going to reread that last bit for you all, yeah? Be aware that anytime you run your body without adequate fuel, the right mix of fuel, or poor quality fuel, you drastically increase your chances of slowing your metabolism and becoming fat. Think about that. So Figure 2, your body requires different amounts of fuel based on a variety of factors. When you do not provide your body with adequate fuel, the right mix, or even quality fuel, you drastically increase your chances of slowing your metabolism down. And Figure 2 is just referring to this right here. We've got a lady walking her dog, and what we have up here on the side is your RMR, which is your resting metabolic rate, right? And we know that 50 to 70% of your calorie intake, if you're counting, which you shouldn't, you should just be concerned about eating well, correctly, and right for your metabolic type. We know that 50 to 70% of that caloric intake anyways is just to keep you alive. It's just to keep everything that's autonomic, such as, your ability to respire, to circulate, to move, to eliminate, et cetera, et cetera. All of that requires energy. So 50 to 70% of your caloric intake, first and foremost, goes to that before it does anything else. It's just to keep you alive. Then we have digest and eliminate, which equals about 5 to 15%. So waste removal, again, which is super important. And then we've got about 100 to 1,000 calories that are dedicated to daily activities, depending on your activity level. Not everyone is as active as, their next door neighbor or their spouse, etc. And then you have one more thing called the X factor. And I would venture to say that really with everything in life, there's always going to be an X factor, because that X factor is always going to be the fact that you are an individual, right? And you simply are not going to match up with anyone else on the planet, whether it has to do with your colon size, with your ability to metabolize food, your capabilities physically, et cetera, right? Just as your appearance is fairly unique, so are you as an individual on the inside. And that's what that X factor is, right? And so again, that has to do with efficiency, metabolic efficiency, which is going to be unique to you, your stress, which is going to be unique to you, right? Spontaneous activities, i.e. fidgeting, which is also going to be what? Unique to you, right? So you're seeing that there is a pattern here. Let's talk about now when you're eating, right? So we've already discussed that counting calories simply doesn't make sense for a number of reasons, right? And if you missed last week's episode on this, please go back to last week, whether you're on IG here or on YouTube, and you can find last week's intro to this topic and why counting calories is not to your benefit. But also when you eat is extremely impactful. So you are when you eat, right? Few people understand the link between when they eat and their health, let alone their body shape. Starting your day off with a small meal, i.e. coffee and toast or a Pop-Tart, how dreadful. If you're having a Pop-Tart, how dreadful. Reach out to me, stat. Followed by a snack for lunch, say a bagel, only to come home insanely hungry and then ready to pig out, will make your body look like the meal proportions in Figure 3. And I'm going to show you that figure now. This one is fun to look at. Look at that. How would you like your body to look? Would you like your pyramid to be pointing down, or would you like your pyramid to be pointing up? So if you're going to be having your smaller meals in the morning, right, then you can expect to have this shape over time. If you're going to be eating toast or Pop-Tart in the morning and then have your biggest meal at night, This is what you can expect. Whereas if you were to do something, oh, I don't know, the exact opposite of what the industrial health complex is telling you to do. If you were to do exactly the opposite of what the food pyramid and the industrial health complex is telling you to do, then you have a better chance at looking like this. And this is not about body shaming, right? We're not saying that one size or one shape is better than the other. We're absolutely not. We're just saying that in some cases, this shape could be a reflection of the fact that your morning starts off very, very light. You're eating, again, the toast and the bread, and then your evenings are finishing off quite full. Ah, nice, Love Shub. You eat between 12 and 4. That's perfection. Don't change that. You're doing great. Well, I guess my follow-up question would be, how do you feel eating between 12 and 4? You know, because you also want to feel good. And I would always say this too, right? Is that even with anything that I give you guys, even though I'm licensed and certified, you're still an individual. And so what I say to you is not law. Only you know what it's like to live in your own bodies. And you should always be in tune and apply your own intuition. I always like to tell my yoga students in my class that you guys are your own healers. You're your own shamans or shawomans. You're your own doctors, physios, osteopaths, etc. Right? And so because you are all of those things, I trust you to cultivate, curate your own medicine and then take it. Right? So if you know that eating 12 till noon works for you, great. Sorry, excuse me, 12 till 4, great. Some people will need to eat up until 6, right? And that's okay too. Some people can't wait to eat till noon, and they might have to start their day earlier and maybe eat at 10 and cut off around 2 or 4, right? So again, tuning in. I love that you're saying you're feeling great. Yeah. And that's you again applying your own intuition, because you're going to be unique, right? And that's you taking back your ownership, excuse me. That's you taking back your ownership and your empowerment to do what's right for self, to feed yourself as and when needed. And if you've been to my lives before, you've heard me make this quote many times, many times, and that is, food is thy medicine. So treat it as such. Know when to eat, know what to eat, and Bob's your uncle. So again, as described, going back to you are when you eat, right? And again, I just want to take a moment to show this for the people that have just arrived. If you're eating primarily heavy at night, this is what you can expect, primarily light during the day, heavier in the morning, and then allowing for the meals to get lighter throughout the day. You're more likely to see results such as that, right? As opposed to this. Which also makes sense because food is not only your medicine, it is your fuel, right? Why do you need more energy at night? Why would you have your biggest meal of the day at night? If anyone can answer that and give me an intelligent answer, I'd be happy to have a conversation about this, right? It's about applying common sense as well, adding that as an additional layer to the intuition that you already have, that sixth sense that's already going to be steering you towards the right direction anyways. When you get up in the morning, it makes sense. You have a whole entire day in front of you. This live, for instance, right now is happening at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Typically, I would do this before 9 a.m. But the reason why I couldn't this morning is because I had loads on my plate. I wanted to get through the banking. I wanted to get through the cooking. I wanted to get through the laundry. And I did all of those things, right? So because of that, I'm not able to do this live now until later in the day. That's okay. Because I got all those things done with in the morning, that's when I needed the most amount of fuel and energy. The rest of my day is going to be physically quite light. So I don't need as much food now. I don't need as much fuel, right? So even just applying your own common sense is always a useful tool in these times, because otherwise, how does that saying go, yogis? The common sense is not so common these days, or something like that. And if that's true, then we know that, like with any other muscle, it's something that we need to practice more frequently, because when you don't use a muscle, it says, bye, bye, bye. That was so corny. Not an NSYNC reference. Back to my drinking chocolate. Another piece of sage. Yum. Listen, if you are on this live right now, and some of you are, and not enjoying a cup of drinking hot cocoa, I feel bad for you. Honestly, I'm giving you my heartfelt apologies right now. All right. Back to the book, yeah? As described in chapters 11 and 12, cortisol is an activating hormone. Cortisol levels are highest between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., which means your metabolism is stimulated and your cells are anxious for you to eat after having fasted all night. For most, particularly women, wanting to restore or elevate their metabolic rate, breakfast should be the largest meal of the day, comprising as much as 25% of your daily calories. If you're a carb type, you may do well on a smaller breakfast, making you the only exception to the rule. However, carb type or not, all breakfast meals must contain proteins, carbohydrates, fats in the correct ratio for your primal pattern type. So this is why it's beneficial to read this book with a Czech practitioner, right? Because I'm in the academy and I can kind of expand on this. It says, if you are a carb type, you may do well on smaller breakfasts, making you the exception to the rule. Now, a carb type, guys, does not mean, again, rice, pasta, and all that fun stuff. I wish I could tell you you could go and eat pastries and pizzette and cornetti and all that good stuff. Pizzette or small pizzas. Cornetti is the Italian word for croissants. I wish that that's what it meant, but no, a carb type means that you eat fruits and vegetables primarily for your metabolic type. That's what your body needs for fuel. I actually vacillate between a carb type, also known as an equatorial type. Not surprising because my family comes from Eritrea, which is not too far from the equator, right? And another way to say a carb type is equatorial. So not surprising that I need primarily to be eating fruits and vegetables. But like as just stated, all of the meals should still contain a certain amount of proteins and fats. Like that would be a well-rounded plate. Now, this does not actually go in line with Dr. Sebi or Dr. Morse's ideology, both of which I'm a fan of and both of which I've practiced. So what can I add to that as a holistic practitioner that studies with the Chick Institute? That how your metabolic typing is definitely how I believe you should be eating day to day. I really do. I believe that the Dr. Sebi and the Dr. Morse codes, protocols are, for me, without a doubt, the best way to self-heal from anything, whether you're trying to reverse. It could be eczema. It could be cancer, God forbid. It could be diabetes. Then I definitely think that you have to do something that's a little bit more, I don't want to use the word extreme, but effective, we'll say, as far as like giving you a full reset and cleansing and removing everything that's become stuck in the body that has now led to disease. Because, cancer can take up to 10 years to develop. That's how forgiving the body is. So things have to really accumulate. A certain amount of toxicity has to accumulate over a period of time. And in some cases, you've got toxicity that's accumulating over decades before you actually become sick, right? So that's why it's important that you eat right for your metabolic type, for your for your primal pattern type, for your day-to-day 100%. But if you're sick, you probably need to do a certain amount of cleansing and detoxification. And the Dr. Morse protocol or the Dr. Sebi protocol, those are real legitimate protocols for giving you a, if you will, like a zero set, like a reset to zero, coming back to as close to zero as you can get to. Make sense? All right. So eating a full breakfast will provide you both with staying power and energy. In my experience, people who eat a proper breakfast feel better and are more likely to be physically active during the day. Eating snacks between meals will constantly reassure your body that energy and nutrition are on board, which often results in an elevated metabolism. The body's metabolism is also elevated by eating simply because the process of digestion, utilization, and elimination of food is at work for the body. I'm going to reread that. The body's metabolism is also elevated by eating simply because the process of digestion, utilization, and elimination of food is at work for the body. When you eat regularly and snack as needed, notice he said needed and not wanted, then your metabolic rate will achieve its genetic set point and you'll achieve your genetic shape. If you don't like the way you look but are not overweight, consider consulting a Chap practitioner to coach you towards shaping a new you. Now, again, we are not body shaping. Well, we are body shaping, but we are not body shaming, right? Because there are genetic differences as well that will, and genetic traits that will create a particular body shape in someone, right? And so that's okay too. We're just saying not everyone is going to be like this, or not everyone is going to be like this, and certainly not everyone is going to be like this, right? Or like this. We're just saying, let us help you get to the best version of yourself. And eating correctly is the way to do that. And then you'll maintain that shape and feel very comfortable in your skin, in your body, which is really what we work towards as Chap practitioners, is first empowering you with the tools and the knowledge, and then allowing you to go forth and live your best life. Thing with us, is that once we've given you the ability to live your best life, we really do just want to let you go on and live your life. We're not in that same sort of business plan where we want to continuously see you return to us time and time and time again. In fact, for me personally, I obviously can't speak for all Chap practitioners. The way that I build my business is I help you get to the best abilities, to your best capability, to your best potential, if you will. And then you refer me to somebody else who you know has similar struggles and hasn't been able to get to where they want to get to on their own. I'm not looking to get repeat business from my clients because, again, my job is to share the codes with you and then let you take that information and live your best life, bar none. And then you just refer me on to someone else. That's a very different business model than the industrial medical complex, which needs you to be reoccurring and needs you to continue to be sick in order for them to do well. Remember, these people are making profit not when you're healthy, they make profit when you're sick. So always second guess and look into what I'm telling you, and certainly always second guess and look into what they're telling you, because you know for sure that their business model includes them making money and gaining profit when you're not well. And so you have to then consider, if that's their business model, could they possibly have conflicting business models? No. Businesses don't work that way. They only have the one. They have a business model that benefits when you're sick. They don't have a business model that also benefits when you're healthy. You don't have conflicting business models. It doesn't work that way, right? So again, applying what? Your common sense and your intuition, which lives where? In your good old gut. All right. So continuing on, are you hungry all the time? If you find you're constantly hungry and have gained weight from eating too much, you may not be hungry, you may be thirsty. I know this to be true. And so because of that, pause. Have you taken your hydration break yet? If you haven't, please do. And just because I'm drinking hot cocoa, that's not the same thing as water. Hot cocoa gets processed as a food. It's like eating a chocolate bar, right? Even though this one happens to be a paleo chocolate and vegan and all the good stuff. Water is the only thing that's truly hydrating, and fruit, right? I mean, the juices that come from fruit, but even that's treated as a food. So if you don't want to initiate your digestive system, the only thing that will satiate your thirst, which sometimes can be disguised as hunger, is H2O. So super important that if you're not yet friendly, with your H2O and you're not drinking the required amount for your weight, that you get on it. Stat. And also because, going back to detoxifying, the best solution to pollution is dilution. All right, guys. In his excellent book, Your Body's Many Cries for Waters, which I own, phenomenal book, Dr. Batmangelji, excuse me for butchering his name, explains that hunger pangs are frequently a symptom of dehydration. I have found this to be true with my own clients and in my own experience. Oh, I just said the same thing a moment ago, which is why I took pause for a hydration break, because oftentimes you mistake your hunger for hydration. Drink first. Before you have a meal, about 30 minutes prior, have a glass of water or two, then pause, wait 30 minutes, release that water, and then see if you're actually hungry. Also, side note, you shouldn't be drinking and eating at the same time, because when you're consuming liquids as you're eating, what you're doing is you're diluting the enzymes, the digestive enzymes that are needed to break down that food. So by diluting them, you're actually diminishing your digestive capabilities. So if you have digestive issues, which many people do, then it's extremely important. But all of us, even if you don't have digestive issues, should be practicing eating and drinking separately. So giving about 30 minutes between the two, not doing them both together. And then what is it that I also wanted to add to that? See, these are the benefits of reading this book again with a holistic practitioner. Oh yes, was it Confucius, guys? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Confucius that said you should chew your water and drink your food? Somebody said that, but those are wise words as well, right? So over chew your food, right? If you have digestive issues, that's something that I could definitely work on. And chew your water. So drink your food, right, by over chewing it, because digestion, by the way, begins where? During the mastication process. So this is where your digestion begins. It ends at the anus, right at the other end. So chew until your water is almost like a liquid. Drink your food, chew your water. So what does that look like when you're chewing your water? Chew your water. Just like that. Bob's your uncle. Easy breezy lemon peasy. Until you get into the habit of drinking water regularly throughout the day, it's easy to get dehydrated without even realizing it. Drinking water also will give you energy. Water is a key catalyst in digestion and enzymatic actions and energy production throughout the body. When you drink adequately for your bodily needs, you're less likely to consume, how dreadful, soda and pick me up foods that generally throw your blood sugar levels off because they cause stress in the body. So, checkpoints for losing weight. Ding, 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 ding. Isn't the portion that you've all come here for? I reckon it is. So, get your notepads ready. This is what most of you have come here for, so take note. Checkpoints for losing weight. Number 1, eat right for your primal pattern type. Never diet. Now, cleansing and detoxing is very differently. If you're not sure what the difference is, reach out to me, and you probably should be doing a detox or a cleanse with the help and oversight of a professional, i.e. your MD and a holistic wellness practitioner like myself. So never diet. Eat right for your metabolic type. That does not mean that you don't have to cleanse and detox and reset, however, right? That's a different time for a different conversation. Number 2, eat regularly to satisfy hunger. Consume slightly smaller main meals and include snacks to elevate your metabolic type. Number 3, eat high quality food. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that think it's okay to just get conventional and get the cheapest and it doesn't matter, it's all just food anyways. Well, why do you think it matters then if you own a luxury vehicle, right, to put in premium fuel? Why? And why are you concerned with what you're feeding your dog? You should be equally concerned about your own vessel, your own machine, your permanent, well, for as long as you're on this earth, we'll say your permanent address. Because, and you've heard me say this before, whilst you might move cities, counties, and even countries, this right here goes with you wherever you go. This right here has come with me from Italy to Canada to the United Kingdom, now to America. These are some of the places I've lived. And this has always traveled with me. So best that I invest in this, no? This is what I need to take care of first and foremost. And if you missed all of the immense information that I went into, which was gold about how to procure food and yada, 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 it was covered in chapter 4, which was several chapters ago. But all of that stuff is still available to you on both YouTube and IG. So just have a look, sit back, relax, get yourself a hot cocoa, and take notes so that you understand and understand how to procure, buy, and then consume your food. Gosh, I love a hot chocolate. Number 4, drink plenty of water. Ideally, you should drink half of your body weight in ounces per day. So if you're 100 pounds, let's just say that means half of that would be 50. Convert that into ounces. Now you are consuming 50 ounces. So that's what you should be working towards. If you're not already there, you should be working towards that every day. Hi, Amir. Number 5, move your body. If you don't like a structured exercise program, simply remain active. I've said it to you all before, and I'll say it to you again. A walk is sufficient. 30 minutes a day, if that's all you have the energy for, is fine. It's better than nothing. And if you don't have enough energy or the weather is not conducive for a walk, because not all of us live in California, like my good friend Amir there, then you could always just do some stretching. That's still considered movement and mobilization. But worst case scenario, right? If you don't have the tools for how to stretch properly, or maybe you're not going for walks for whatever reason, the other thing I would say is just do the no workout as prescribed by Paul Chek, which is park your car as far away from the building as you can, whether you're going to the shopping center, whether you're going to work. Avoid taking the lifts or the escalators. Try taking the stairs. And if you're taking the stairs and you can challenge yourself, don't hold on to the rails, especially when you're going up. That's a really good idea. Try avoid holding onto the rails, because then you're kind of inevitably put some of that weight onto the rails. See if you can stay upright. That will also help to engage your core. And none of us out here that I know of have a core that's too strong. Am I right, Amir? All of us could benefit from strengthening our core, especially the inner unit. Number 6, go to sleep by 10 p.m. Disruption of your sleep-wake cycle equals more stress on your body, and this increases your chances of gaining weight because of hormonal imbalances. Most of you, whether you're in health or wellness or not, can probably attest to this with your own experiences. Have you noticed that when you haven't had a good night's sleep? Yeah, we all know you need more core work. Exactly. My friend Amir here is also a holistic practitioner and a Czechie, just like I am. So he's licensed and trained, and is a great resource for me. So follow him as well. Ascend_2B. Support. I don't like that term follow. Support him. Ascend_2B for Amir, another Czechie. Those of you that know, probably from your own experiences, like myself, even before I got into this industry, was that on the nights when I don't sleep well, I wake up tired and feeling like I need sugar. And you know what your body craves as part of that sugar? Carbohydrates. Strengthening and stabilization muscles in the core are also important. Yeah, absolutely. Strengthening the stabilization muscles, 100%. 100%, which is why it's great to try to stand up on your own without holding on to anything, going up the stairs without holding on to anything, right? So creating enough stability within the core so that you don't need to be teetering or leaning either way. You're welcome, buddy, anytime. So again, if you've had a good night's sleep, what you notice is you probably feel enough energy in the morning that you don't feel like, oh man, I need a baguette and some cheese or coffee, right? And that's what you want to get to, because those kinds of cravings will definitely impede your ability to eat correctly for your primal pattern type or your metabolic type. And that inevitably means that you're going to just eat whatever just to try to get energy from your food, energy that you should have gotten from your restful state, which was your sleep. That oftentimes leads us to consuming and over-consuming foods that we don't need to be eating at all, or at the very most, we should be eating minimally. Make sense? Makes sense. Then the last tip that I will give you all for checkpoints for losing weight, as per Paul Chek's first book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, chapter 13, which we are now wrapping up. The last and final tip is burn your diet books. Easy breezy, lemon peasy. Say goodbye. And if you're still unsure how to get to your weight goals, reach out to either myself or Amir. There are plenty of Czechies out there. He's on the West Coast. I'm all the way out on the East Coast. But there are plenty of us even within the mainland, I should say. So look out for a Czech practitioner or stay tuned to his page, my page. We're always sharing tips and information. I'm going to sign off. It's been a great Monday afternoon with you all. Thank you all for checking in. Those of you that didn't see it this live but are catching it later on, enjoy it nonetheless, and know that you could always reach out. From my heart to yours, always please get free and stay free. Until next week, guys. See you then. Bye.